I trusted my son-in-law. I trusted him enough to give him money, time, and even my own peace of mind because I believed that was the only way to protect my grandchild after my daughter died. And then, yesterday, my grandchild asked me a question that sent a chill straight through me. "Grandpa, why does Dad hate you?" At first, I thought it was just a child's feeling. But then my grandchild went on, speaking so softly it was like they were afraid someone might hear. "Dad said you never loved Mom. Dad said you wanted her gone, so you wouldn't have to deal with her anymore." I froze. Not because I felt insulted, but because I could smell something uglier than greed. "Brainwashing," I asked. "Who told you that?" My grandchild lowered their head. "Dad did. He said if I told you, he'd be sad. He said I have to stand by him." Stand by him. A 10-year-old child being forced to choose sides. In that moment, I understood. This was no longer just about the money I had been sending my son-in-law. This was a quiet war over something far more valuable, my grandchild's mind. And once a child starts believing their grandfather is the villain, the next step is obvious. They stop listening to me. They stop telling me the truth. And little by little, I get erased from their life, forever. I looked at my grandchild and tried to keep my voice steady. "You do not have to choose sides. You only have to tell the truth." But in my mind, one thought had already locked into place. If he wants my grandchild to hate me, then it means I am standing in the way of something, and my son-in-law wants me gone from that child's life. After my daughter died, my son-in-law Jason showed up at my door looking exactly like a grieving husband should. Exhausted, broken, and very good with words. "Dad, I'll raise her. I swear. I just need your help, so she won't go without. I'm not a rich man, but I have principles." That day, grief beat every single one of them. I started sending money. Every month, without fail. Sometimes it was tuition. Sometimes rent went up. Sometimes therapy for trauma. I never asked for receipts. I didn't want to make things harder. I was afraid that if I questioned him, he'd say I didn't care. Then Jason got smarter. He didn't just ask for money anymore. He asked for control. "If you trust me, Dad, sign this so I can handle things for her. It'll be faster, easier." The documents were full of tangled words. Authorization, trust fund, beneficiary, account management. He said it like it was normal. Like this was just what families do. And I signed some of them because I thought I was helping my granddaughter. What did I get in return? A few photos, a few short phone calls, and a distance that kept growing wider. Jason started limiting my time with her. "She's finally stable. You coming over might confuse her," I told myself. "As long as she's being taken care of, that's enough." Until the day she asked me, "Why does Dad hate you?" That's when it hit me. Jason didn't want stability. He wanted isolation. Because once I'm isolated, no one checks where the money goes. No one questions what's being signed. And inside that house, his version of the story becomes the only version that exists. The next morning, I took my grandchild out for breakfast. I didn't ask like an investigator. I kept it gentle. "Do you and your dad talk about me a lot?" My grandchild nodded, then glanced around like someone might be listening. "Dad asks me what you say." "What you ask?" "If you talk about Mom." A chill ran through me. Why does he ask that? My grandchild bit their lip. "He says I have to tell him everything. He says you're trying to take me away, so you'll say bad things about him." I tightened my grip on the glass. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was a method. Turning a child into a pair of eyes and ears. Controlling the flow of information. Making sure the child never feels safe getting close to me. Then my grandchild spoke again. Even quieter. "Dad says you used to control Mom. He says you made her unhappy. He says, Mom died because of you." I couldn't breathe for a second. My daughter isn't here to defend herself, and Jason is rewriting her story. I asked carefully, "Do you believe that?" My grandchild looked at me, eyes filling with tears. I I don't know. I just don't want Dad to be mad. That's the real wound. A child doesn't choose what's true. They choose what feels safe. And right now, safe means not upsetting their father. Jason knows that, and he's using it to shape how my grandchild sees me. I placed my hand on their shoulder and said firmly, "You didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to report to anyone. You just need to tell the truth when you're with me." And in that moment, something became painfully clear. If I do nothing, in a few months, my grandchild won't see me as family anymore. They'll see me as a stranger. And Jason won't win in court. He'll win inside a child's mind. I started noticing the small things I had ignored before. Every time I made a video call, Jason was always sitting right next to my grandchild. Whatever the child said, they would glance at Jason first, as if asking for permission. And strangely, the child began using phrases that weren't typical for a kid. "You're so dramatic. You're controlling. You're toxic." I felt a chill hearing that. Children don't naturally say toxic. Someone had put that word into their mouth. I tried texting Jason. "I want to take my grandchild this weekend." He replied, "No, the child is recovering. Don't interfere." I asked, "Interfere with what?" He responded, "You know, you always make things tense. That's the narrative Jason is building. I'm the source of harm, and he's the protector. Once that narrative becomes the truth, he'll have a legitimate reason to cut me off from my grandchild while still playing the victim." Then I realized something even more disturbing. Every time I asked about money or paperwork, the very next day, my grandchild would say things like, "Please don't pressure Dad. Dad is stressed because of you." That means Jason is using the child as a shield. He turns every reasonable question I ask into an attack. I looked at the whole picture. Regular money requests, asking me to sign papers for convenience, limiting my time with my grandchild, poisoning my image in the child's mind. None of this is random. It's a campaign, and that campaign has one goal: to turn me into the villain, so that when I fight back, no one believes me, not even the child. I laid out all the old documents Jason had once told me to just sign quickly. I read them again, this time not with trust, but with suspicion, and then I saw a line that made me break into a sweat. A change of beneficiary on an account connected to my daughter. A power of attorney allowing Jason to handle financial matters on behalf of the child. On behalf of the child. It sounds right, but it's the key to moving money without asking me. I called the bank, fund involved, and asked about the status. Some withdrawals, expenditures, were approved by the authorized representative. Authorized representative. Jason. I started to understand. Jason doesn't hate me because I'm a bad person. He hates me because I'm the only one who can ask where the money is going, who signed the documents, who actually controls custody. And as long as I'm still in my grandchild's life, Jason can't run his plans smoothly, so he has to do one thing first: break the bond between me and my grandchild. How? By planting poison in the child's mind. That's when I saw it clearly. The money is only the surface. What Jason really wants is total control over the money, the narrative, and the child. And my grandchild's question, "Why does Dad hate you?" was the first crack that exposed the entire scheme. I met Dana, a family lawyer. I explained briefly, then showed the evidence. Jason's messages, the power of attorney, and the things my grandchild had said. After listening, Dana spoke plainly. "You're being systematically isolated from your grandchild. This looks like parental alienation, smearing you so the child turns against you." I asked, "How do I prove it?" "He'll say, 'I'm imagining things.'" Dana nodded. "Exactly. That's why you must not confront this emotionally. We do 4 things. Document every time Jason blocks visits and everything the child says. Don't pressure the child. Don't interrogate. Save all messages where Jason smears you or threatens to cut access. Audit finances, accounts, beneficiaries, power of attorney. Flag and lock anything unusual. Move all support into supervised funds or pay directly to the school, so Jason can't use money as leverage. Dana looked me straight in the eye. You need to understand the goal, not to teach him a lesson. The goal is to protect the child from being programmed. My phone buzzed. Jason texted, "Don't say those things to her anymore. She's sensitive." Dana gave a cold smile. "He's afraid of what you might say because you're getting close to his plan." Now reply calmly, "Okay, I understand. Let him feel safe, and we'll keep gathering evidence." I nodded. For the first time in years, I saw a path forward. No shouting, no begging, just the law and the evidence. That night, I followed Dana's advice. Stay quiet, observe, and document everything. I didn't need Jason to confess anymore. His actions were already doing that. I texted, "Can I take my grandchild out for lunch this weekend?" Jason replied immediately, "No. She's stable right now. Don't disrupt her." I asked, "What about next week?" He answered, "The more you try to see her, the more stress she gets." Classic move. Turning my desire to see my grandchild into a problem. Dana told me to send a soft bait. "I just don't want her to grow distant from me." Jason sent back a long message, and it was a gift. "You've always been controlling. You made Hannah suffer before, and now you want to do the same to my child. I won't let you have a negative influence. If you keep bringing this up, I'll limit contact." My hands went cold reading it, not because of the accusation, but because he had just written out the real goal. "Limit contact," Dana said. "Keep that message. This is evidence of alienation. He's framing you as harmful to justify cutting you off." I thought back to my grandchild's question. "Why does Dad hate you?" Now I understand. Jason doesn't hate me because of feelings. He hates me because his plan requires me to disappear. 2 days later, my grandchild let something slip that made my hair stand on end. "Dad said I'm going to meet a note-taking lady. He said she'll ask about you." I asked gently, "Who is she?" My grandchild shrugged. "I don't know. Dad said I should say, 'Grandpa yells a lot. Grandpa makes me scared.'" I froze. He's building a psychological record to justify cutting me out. After hearing this, Dana said bluntly, "He's preparing a paper trail. When you push back, he'll present evidence that you're harmful." I thought back. Every time I asked about money or paperwork, the next day my grandchild would say things like, "Please don't stress, Dad." Now, it's escalated. He's coaching the child to say, "I make them afraid." Dana told me, from now on, absolutely no raised voice in front of the child. No arguments. No speaking badly about the father. Everything must be clean, so there's nothing for the court to latch onto. I nodded. I don't need to win emotionally. I need to win so my grandchild doesn't get turned into a weapon. And in my mind, the plan became clear. Jason doesn't just want the money. He wants to legally justify isolating me so I no longer have any say about the money, the assets my daughter left behind, or how he's raising my grandchild. Dana said, "If you want to catch him, you have to make him think you're afraid." So I sent Jason the softest message I could. "I don't want to argue. I just want peace for the child. I'm planning to set up a large fund for her, but I need you to come sign some documents so everything is legal." I knew he would bite. "Because he hates me, but he loves money," Jason replied. "Fine, but don't say those nonsense things to her anymore." Dana gave a cold smile. "He's setting conditions for the fund. That's control." We arranged to meet at a cafe. Dana didn't sit at the same table, but stayed nearby. The recording was legal. The goal: Get him to reveal the truth that he needs the child on his side so I won't dare touch the money or assets. I rehearsed a few short, direct questions. Why did you tell her I wanted her mother dead? Why did you teach her to say I make her afraid? Why do you want to cut me off from her? I wasn't asking to win an argument. I was asking so he would expose his own motives. Jason showed up, still wearing that same fake politeness. He sat down and immediately asked, "How much is the fund?" I stayed calm. "Before we talk about money, I want to ask, why did my grandchild say you hate me?" Jason frowned. "There you go again, making drama." I looked straight at him. She asked, "Why does Dad hate Grandpa?" She also said, "You told her I wanted her mother dead." Jason blinked just once. Quick. Then gave a dry laugh. "Kids misunderstand things. I set the bait. Or did you say it? Because you want her to be afraid of me. So I won't ask about the money." Jason slammed his hand on the table. "You're always suspicious. You're trying to take my child away from me." That line exactly what my grandchild had said. I lowered my voice. "No. I want transparency. You're the one afraid of it." Jason clenched his jaw and then slipped. The worst possible sentence he could have said on a recording. "I need her on my side. If she gets close to you, she'll tell you everything." I stayed still. Dana, at the other table, stayed still. But I knew that sentence was the break. Jason had just admitted the truth. This was never about protecting the child. It was about controlling information and protecting his plan. The very next day, Dana moved fast. We sent requests to the bank and the relevant fund to review access rights, beneficiaries, and the authorizations I had signed. What I feared showed up. There were changes I didn't fully understand at the time I signed them. Nothing forged, but the kind of read fast, sign fast. Jason had exploited exactly that weakness, trust, and the fear of making things complicated. Dana filed for financial oversight related to the child. At the same time, I shifted all support into a clean structure, paying tuition directly, paying for therapy directly, and setting up a controlled fund for my grandchild without Jason touching the money. Jason called, shouting, "You're destroying my family." I gave him one sentence. "Family isn't an ATM." Then he threatened, "You won't see her anymore." Dana replied in the only language he understands. "All communication goes through legal counsel." Once the money and control were cut off, Jason had nothing left to act grieving about. All that remained was anger at losing control. And that's when the real face shows itself most clearly. At the first hearing, the judge reviewed two things: Jason's messages threatening to cut off contact, the recording, "I need her on my side." That alone was enough for the court to see the pattern. The judge issued temporary orders, a fixed visitation schedule between grandparent and child, a ban on Jason badmouthing, blaming, or threatening in front of the child. All financial support must be transparent. Jason sat there, stiff-faced. He couldn't win with a story, because in the end, he was facing a system. After the hearing, my grandchild asked me, "Grandpa, do I have to hate Dad?" I answered slowly, "You don't have to hate anyone. You just need to know what's true." That was the most important thing, pulling a child out of a war of sides. One afternoon, my grandchild came over. They sat quietly for a long time, then said, "Grandpa, I think Dad is lying." I didn't celebrate. I didn't criticize. I just asked, "Why do you think that?" My grandchild answered, "Because Dad says you're bad, but you've never made me feel scared. Dad says you want to take me away, but you only ask if I'm okay." I choked up. The child isn't foolish. They just didn't have a safe choice before. Then they said, "I don't want to report anymore." I nodded. "No one has the right to turn you into a guard." From that point on, whenever Jason tried to speak badly, my grandchild would go quiet or change the subject. That's the sign. When a child is no longer afraid, they start cutting the strings themselves. And I realized the real victory isn't Jason losing money. It's my grandchild regaining the freedom to trust the people they love. I used to think this story was about money, but money was just the bait. What Jason really wanted was control. Control over my grandchild. Control over the narrative. Control over what I was allowed to know and do. He turned me into the villain in the child's mind, so I would quietly disappear cleanly, legally, without a fight. And if my grandchild hadn't asked, "Why does Dad hate you?" I might have lost, without even realizing I was being slowly erased. If you were in my place, what would you do? Would you stay silent to keep the peace, even knowing the child is being poisoned? Or would you accept being disliked for a while, being called toxic, just to cut off that manipulation? I chose the second, because I would rather be hated by an adult than let a child grow up believing that love must come with lies.